Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the Bastards of Boston Baseball. The Red Sox just got absolutely shellacked out in Detroit. 14 to 2, your final score. Tanner Houck gets beaten up like a punching bag. Willie Abreu makes one of the worst errors I've ever seen that leads to essentially an inside the park 3-run homer, or a Little League home run, if you want to call it that. There's nothing Little League about the score. Again, 14 to 2, your final. Just an absolute beatdown in Detroit. So I'm your host, Jason Kelly. I'm here with Terry. I'm here with Chris. So not a fun one, guys. This is one of those games where it's like a train wreck. You can't look away. You want to, but at some point you're like, are we going to get a position player on the mound? Is it going to be one of those games? Like that's always kind of entertaining, but otherwise, nothing about this was fun. Just absolute beatdown all around. Chris, your reaction to just whatever the hell just happened out there in Detroit?
I mean, it's as bad as it gets. Excuse me for being a little bit congested here, everyone, but I feel about as good as Tanner Houck's ERA right now. Just when it's been the story of the Sox this season, right? It's like as soon as we have momentum, we're starting to feel good about them. A game like this happens, and we're right back to reality. That's as tough as it's going to get. I hope it's as tough as it's going to get, but I'm not feeling great. Not feeling great personally. Not feeling good about the team. What are your thoughts, Terry?
I look at that Houck performance and I'm trying to equate it to a movie scene. And the two that I couldn't really ultimately pick from was, towards the end of Scarface when Tony Montana gets just absolutely lit up by machine guns. Or, maybe more specific to our generation, Home Alone when is his name Johnny, and then he lights up snakes or whatever with the Tommy gun. Yeah, that's what happened to Tanner Houck tonight, and you were just starting to maybe trust him a little, and then this happened. And are the Tigers, by the way? I mean, they are unequivocally the best team in the American League at this point, aren't they?
I think they have the best record in the American League. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
now they
I
have
believe they do.
27 wins. So yeah, they definitely are. They're off to a really hot start.
They sure looked like it.
I mean, they've got maybe I haven't looked it up, the best rotation in baseball, if not, let's say top three, I guess, between Scooble, Flaherty, Jackson Jobe is their stud prospect. Probably has a much higher ceiling than even Brian Bayo was thought to have had. And yeah, and I mean, just absolutely torched us tonight. And you go back real quick though. 2013, they just had nothing but studs. Miguel Cabrera, Prince Fielder, Victor Martinez, Torrey Hunter was still very good at 37 years old. I'm missing at least a couple of players in there, and this team.
Did we lose Terry?
I think we might have lost Terry for a little
Yeah.
bit, but I
Okay.
get where Terry was going with that. Is that team was loaded, and this team is young, came out of nowhere, got off to a rough start at the beginning of last season, and then just caught fire, and it seems like it's carried over into the season at this point. Imagine being Bregman, because we forget it came down to the Sox and the Tigers, and at this point, it wasn't such a great decision as of now. But you're back, Terry.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, but the cool thing about this platform we use, if something does happen to me, the show keeps going. So it's good. But all I was saying right before I got cut off is this current team isn't nearly as sexy in terms of star power. Maybe it's getting there, but Detroit is a good baseball team again. And, they kind of broke out last summer. They grew a set. And that's what I don't mean to sound crude when I say that, but that's what the Red Sox need to do. They need to grow a set. And then I feel like once the Red Sox do, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. and we could have that deep run. It's still early enough. I mean, we're still above 500, but Detroit built that confidence up late last year with that intense streak that they had. And they won what, 30 out of like 39 games, something ridiculous. And then they had that deep postseason run, and they haven't looked back. They picked up right where they left off. So the Red Sox need to grow a set, just like Detroit did.
Yeah, it's kind of like everything's going right for Detroit at the moment. And I don't know if you want to credit, AJ Hinch with a lot of that. I wouldn't blame you. I think he's a very good manager, and I think he does get a lot out of his players. But I mean, that franchise has always been good at they have a really good run of success, and then they kind of blow it up. They reset for about 4 or 5 years, and then they reload and they come right back. You guys mentioned that 2013 team that they had, and now it's a new iteration. Now it's Skubal and Job and Reese Olson. Casey Mize, their first round pick from several years ago, is finally looking like a first round pick. Um, Same with guys like Spencer Torkelson, who struggled the first couple of years of his career. Now he's like, an RBI run producing machine. So they're getting hot at the right moment, and everything's coming together for them. Even Javier Baez is hitting again, which no one ever thought that guy was going to figure it out. And it might be a little bit of a Houdini act with him. I know that his Savant page still doesn't look great. His expected batting average is pretty low, but whatever. The guy's producing, and that looks like a black hole of a contract for a couple of years. So even that's going well for them. And then you look at the Red Sox, and it's like, not so much. Things aren't going the way that we expected them to, especially after the offseason when we all had them, penciled into the playoffs, and some of us had them going to the World Series. And now it's like, can you guys even make the playoffs at this point? Like, you gotta figure this out. There's a whole Rafael Devers situation. The owner had to fly out to Kansas City to basically call him into the principal's office. Like, it's kind of a mess. So you're kind of going up against a team that's doing what you should be doing. They're figuring it out. Their young guys are producing. Their manager is getting the most out of them, and you're doing the opposite. And really, today was about Tanner Houck. The Devers stuff is going to be there, but today was about Tanner Houck. Just an absolute wretched performance from him. And look, he was awful all spring. And everyone kept telling me and everyone else, oh, it's just a spring. Spring stats don't matter. He's just working stuff out. He's going to be fine. He's had like maybe 2 starts so far this year where he looked decent, looked good, but he still didn't look like the Tanner Houck from last season. And then the bad starts have been cataclysmic. I mean, just completely, just nuclear. So I don't know what you do with Tanner Houck now, because this is not just him trying to figure stuff out or anything like that. I mean, he was not hitting any of his locations today. He was all over the place. Couldn't hit his location, and then if he did, he left it right over the plate. Detroit swung away at it, crushed it. So I'm not sure what the future holds for Tanner Houck. I don't know how many more starts you can keep putting him out there like that. Where, I mean, he put the team in a hole right away. I mean, just gave up so many runs early on. And I know the Red Sox were up against Jackson Jobe, but he didn't have his best stuff today. He struck out 7, but he also walked 5. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't as good as he could have been. So you had a shot against that guy, and Tanner Houck just completely buried you early on in the game. So I'm not sure. They've got some decisions to make when it comes to Tanner Houck and his future here, at least in the short term. Maybe a Phantom Elston. I don't know, but they got to do something.
The pattern with Houck, and maybe it's not a pattern necessarily, but when the ship starts taking on water, he's got no answer. He can't right the ship. He can't find a rhythm and then settle into it. I mean, he did have that 1 6-pitch inning, I guess, thanks to Bregman, but yeah, he just completely non-competitive right out of the gates. And he gave up 11 in that Tampa start earlier in the year. So you're looking at 21 earned runs in just 2 starts. Like, I don't think, even if he does get into a rhythm here, he's not gonna have a sub 4 ERA. I mean, his end of the year stats aren't gonna be good. I mean, you'll just take what you can get, obviously.
Well, I think to your point, Terry, he often takes on water, but he's always in a position where it seems like he's going to be taking on water, which is super frustrating. He's always getting into trouble. And I think tonight we were down, I want to say it was 2-0 at the time. And Job did not have his best stuff. He did also get the benefit of a couple of calls in some critical spots. At the end of the day, it wouldn't have mattered with the score being 14-2, but you also don't know if the game changes, the dynamic changes. I think it was bases loaded. Bregman had just walked. And Christian Campbell got a strike 2 call that was like a foot and a half down on his knees on like a curveball that came in that literally almost clipped his kneecap. And it changed the dynamic of that at bat, ended up getting out of it. But Houck just could not even settle in, even with any momentum that we had. And that was the only momentum our offense had. It was another game, too, where our bats were super quiet. And I also think that, like, we've also had a lot of games this year where there's been blowouts, right? Where do the bats go quiet because it's, someone's putting a crooked number and it's 7-0, 8-0, 9-0 in the blink of an eye. And it's not even like the attempt to try and fight back.
He's had 9 starts this year. In 5 of the 9, he's had 2 strikeouts or less, and he had none in this one. It was brief. So you just kind of get a sense. I mean, if he's finishing guys off in the first and second inning, you're probably going to have a decent start for him. And he has had a few 6 or 7 strikeout performances, which obviously you'll take. Last year, I mean, it seemed like in the first half, he was always flirting with 9 or 10 every time out. Was like, I'm like, man, we finally caught on to something here. And when you're looking here at really just next week when Walker Buehler gets back, one of Houck, Dobbins, or Giolito is gonna lose their spot. And I think we all want, isn't Dobbins our first choice to keep a spot? Like, can we agree on that?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he's the
absolutely.
safest at this point for sure.
Yeah, he punches out a number of guys, doesn't hardly walk anyone. He's had run support. People are quick to point that out, but I just want to see more and more every time. Like, what's the ceiling for him? And my fear with Dobbins is you would think he's safe, conventional wisdom and common sense, but Abraham Toro is our first baseman right now. So I don't know that that's a slam dunk decision Breslow's going to make. And, Houck can get it back here in his next start, and it kind of takes the pressure off. If he goes and gives you 5 or 6 runs with 2 or 3 earned, you're like, all right, that's serviceable. And then if Giolito takes a dive in his next start, I don't know. It's just tough to figure out where it goes. And you have to hope that Buehler can pick up where he left off as well. So I mean, how do you guys think it's going to go?
Well, I think it's interesting that with Bueller on his way back, and then as you said, you got to think about Giolito, Dobbins, Houck, who's the odd man out. When you look at just Bueller, Giolito, Houck, those are 3 at this point so far question marks. Like I feel like each guy when he goes out, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. Bueller kind of steadied himself a little bit before he got hurt, but he's still capable of going out there and giving up 5 runs in 2 innings and having a short outing. Tanner Houck is a complete wild card. You have no idea what he's going to do. And same with Giolito. Like, yeah, the last start was good, but what if, he has another start where the changeup isn't doing what he wants, the fastball's sitting at 92, and guys are just teeing off on him. So he's also a wild card. That's kind of a scary proposition that really the only guy in your rotation that you know what you're going to get is Garrett Crochet. The others, and I'll throw Brian Bayo into that pile too. Like, you don't know what you're going to get out of Bayo every start. He might look really good, or he might be up to 75 pitches by the 3rd inning because he walked 7 guys. Like, it's all really inconsistent and unstable. And that's why I like Hunter Dobbins keeping his spot, because I think he does give you some level of consistency. He's going to punch guys out, Might run into a little trouble against tougher lineups because he is a younger guy, still developing. But those other guys, they're all question marks. And, we had someone, Justin Cook, in our chat ask, is it possible Houck is not totally healthy? I wouldn't be shocked if he isn't. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if there's something going on there. We talked last year about Tanner Houck's innings, how those, skyrocketed for his career. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some lingering issue going on there, in which case the problem solves itself. Houck goes on the IL, gets himself set, or, whatever he needs figured out, and then you slot Bueller back in. But I think regardless of an IL stint or not, Houck's got to come out of the rotation a little bit. And, whether that's just you demote him to the bullpen for a bit till he figures it out, I don't know, or he goes on the IL. But to me, he's the guy that he's just, he's putting you in a black hole too many times. So that's what I would do when Bueller's ready.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I would agree. I think Dobbins definitely is the one who should stay out of the three for me. And I mean, last week I was saying that Giolito was no brainer, the one who was out, but the one thing I could say is at least Giolito has shown, like, you see flashes of positive in his starts. I can't say that about Houck, really, in almost any of the starts this season. So I think Houck at this point is the odd man out. I would roll the dice, probably have Giolito on the fringe. And the sad thing is, Terry, to your point, I feel like like Dobbins has the shortest leash. If he even just has even one little flare up in between now and then, like, he's going to end up being the odd man out, and it's not even fair because Houck has not been good at all this season. And Giolito is also, it's been a short stint since he's been back, but he's been more balanced and better than Houck to this point. So,
Yeah, so we appreciate everyone filling in or chiming in our stream here, and we don't always go to it, but Brad Sandler chimes in. He's watching from YouTube. Some other people are coming in on Twitter, but Brad asked, is it true that Tanner Houck has not registered a win since the All-Star break last year? That's almost true. In his final start of the year last year, that was September 23rd, he did get a win against the Toronto Blue Jays, but that's it. His last win, aside from that, came before the All-Star break. And so that kind of goes without saying. No wins this year. And then to make matters worse, the Red Sox, not necessarily his fault, but the Red Sox have only won 2 of his 9 starts. So, and you guys kind of stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to say unequivocally, I think Tanner Houck should go back to the bullpen. And if I heard myself say that, if you could have brought me back to January and showed me the take I'm giving now in a crystal ball, I would have rolled my eyes at myself. I mean, like, why would you do that? He was one of your best starters last year. Why would you put Houck in the pen? Well, we have the depth now. We have the depth, and you just kind of have to ride the hot hand. If someone goes down, and somebody will, there could be an opportunity to put him back in the rotation. But also, you tell Tanner Houck, let's go with your best 2 pitches here. Let's put you in the pen. You can go back to being a dominant reliever. If you go back to, I think it was 2022, maybe it was 23, I don't remember. One of those 2 years, he was essentially the closer for a little while and did a decent job. So I don't think it hurts to have too many arms. I mean, I can't really think of a glaring weakness in that bullpen right now. They, a lot of people are hitting their strides. Whitlock's been a little shaky, I guess, but Chapman's been good. Justin Wilson has been lights out. Justin Slayton seems to be figuring it out. He hasn't really gotten knocked around in a couple weeks. I'm not a big Weissert guy, but been pitching well. So you just throw Houck into that. It's just another potentially solid option And we're going to be looking at relievers at the deadline if we're fortunate enough to be in it. But maybe you solve part of that right now by putting Tanner Houck in the bullpen.
Yeah, and to back up what you were saying, you're right. It was 2022 where Houck was in the bullpen. He had 8 saves that year, 3.15 ERA. I mean, he was very good out of the bullpen. So it's definitely a role that he can do. He would probably be great at it if he went back. Obviously, no one wants to lose their spot in the starting rotation, but he's got to get right. And you know what? If he's an extra option out of the bullpen, that helps also a guy like Dobbins, who, you don't have to overextend on him. Even with Garrett Crochet, we've been complaining about his usage so far this year and how his innings are starting to skyrocket. You put Houck in the bullpen, he can probably go 2 innings at least to start, maybe even more. As you start to mold him into that role. So if Crochet's up to 90 pitches by the fifth inning, you don't feel as bad pulling him and putting a guy like Houck in there for 2, and then setting up the bridge to the ninth inning if you need it. So I think it'd be a good option for him, at least for now. It doesn't have to be permanent, like you mentioned, Terry. Someone's probably going to get hurt, in which case he could go right back into the rotation. Um, they put Nick Pivetta in the bullpen for a little bit. He was fine. He went back to being a starter, not with us, but he's doing fine. So it's not a death sentence to a pitcher anymore. It's just, I think it's a good way to help him figure some stuff out without removing him from the major league roster. So I agree. That's what I would do. Just until he gets right, that's where he should go.
He has a very complicated delivery. That was what the knock on him was before last year having that breakout. It's just hard to repeat that delivery, with consistent success. And I don't know. And he's going to be, we have him for at least 3 or 4 more years, I think up till age 32. Maybe he's a Nick Pivetta type guy. And I don't remember Nick Pivetta going to the bullpen and him not being dominant. It just seems like he was instantly dominant every time. And then eventually he did win his way back into the rotation, mostly by necessity. But so it's not a bad thing, if you can be a very relevant pitcher in Major League Baseball, your future is bright and your team is better off. And so it's going to be intriguing. I kind of hope it goes that way, but like I said, Abraham Toro's our first baseman. When Toro hit that solo in the ninth to make it, what was it, 12 to or 14-2 at that point?
Yeah.
I just rolled my eyes. I'm like, Breslow probably feels so validated right now. His boy just hit a homer. And Vaughn Grissom, I haven't checked. I assume he's still doing pretty well down there. Breaking news, actually, he DM'd me back a few minutes ago. Matt McCarthy from the Sports Hub will guest co-host tomorrow night's show on Tuesday. So that'll be fun. But yeah, so with is Comerica Field, is that the biggest ballpark in MLB? I haven't Googled it yet, but it looks massive. It looks like it probably would have its own zip code.
It's up there. I don't know if it's as big as San Diego. San Diego is pretty huge.
Well, I thought they made it smaller in recent years.
They did make Comerica a little bit smaller. Yeah.
Oh, okay, Comerica too.
Yeah, and yeah, I think San Diego they brought the walls in a little bit as well, but it's got to be up there. It's probably top 5 in terms of size. Yeah, especially now that the Oakland Coliseum is gone, so or at least not being in use rather. But it's a big ballpark. Yeah,
It's not giving it to me. It's giving me the seating
Yeah, it's giving
capacity.
me the seating on the search.
Yeah. Oh well, I don't have the wherewithal to mess with it, but it's up there. And what's your biggest memory of Comerica? Because I'll just give you mine right away. Mike Napoli's solo home run off of Verlander in Game 3, and that was the only run scored.
Yeah.
It was a 1-0 game. That's like my biggest thing.
yeah, that's a biggie. I don't know if I
Yeah.
have one that tops that. That's tough because
Yeah, I remember exactly where I was too when that happened.
Where were you?
In my
Jail?
in-law, I was at my
Oh,
in-laws'
okay.
house
Well,
watching the movie.
that's jail. Yes, I was right. I'm gonna take credit for that.
Joe. Oh,
But you were at the in-laws? Okay.
yeah.
Hmm.
I was holding my
I
daughter. She was just born at that time.
oh, and you didn't name her Napoli? I mean, that could be a gender neutral name.
No, no, I didn't. She was
Okay.
already born before that team.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Yeah, I don't I think I was just at my apartment at the time. It was a day game or something like that. So, which is annoying. ALCS and it's a day game. Come on. What are we doing? But yeah, I don't know. That's just one of the memories. And another thing here, um Alex Bregman booed tonight because I guess the Tigers probably were the runner up. They offered him 6 years, 170 something, very respectable deal. And
Yeah.
really, I know it's cool to have a $40 million AAV and all that. And he'll probably make up for that, whatever he does in the next 3 years after this deal. But do you think he just kind of glances over at that Detroit home dugout and think, could have been nice. AJ's a good manager.
Yeah, and part of me thinks, who does he have a better relationship with, Cora or AJ Hinch? I imagine it's probably Hinch because, Hinch was the actual manager when they were winning, all those years when he was there. So, I know Cora was there too, but I bet he's closer with AJ Hinch. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of looking over there like, oof, I could be on a 27-win team right now, and instead, I'm over here. We're getting our brains beat in, and I keep getting asked about Rafael Devers every single effing day. Like, it's got to be frustrating at that point.
Yeah, it's not a good spot to be in. That's for sure. Especially like if we don't turn this around, it's gonna because I feel like they're gonna probably win the Central. And they're more than likely going to end up in the ALCS with this American League. So
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, could there be a crazy scenario? This is the WTF Cushman take of the show. Um, let's say we fall out of it, and that would destroy my soul if we did. But let's just say it happens. July 31st gets here. Detroit might need a third baseman. I don't know. I don't know if crazier things have happened. I mean, crazy things have happened. That would be, you would file that into the same thing. But I don't know. They have the best farm system, and I don't know. I think this Devers stuff will resolve itself here, um but yeah, I don't know. It had to have been on his mind tonight. And when you look at AJ Hinch, I mean, I think you have to give him credit for the ascension of this team.
Yeah. Oh, I give him a ton of credit because they had a lot of high picks. Like, even Riley Green, like, some of these guys, didn't really emerge until Hinch got there. Detroit had a tough spot with managers after Leland, retired, and they couldn't find one that would stick, and they kept drafting high every single year because they were, not a very good team, and these young guys would come in just not it just wasn't clicking. And now AJ Hinch gets there, and all of a sudden they're all emerging. They're all, you know, some of them are panning out better than any scout thought they would. So I give Hinch a ton of credit. I think that he's definitely pulling something out there. And look, I mean, look at what he did in Houston all those years. The guy's not a fraud manager. He's legit. He's a winner. He knows how to get the most out of his players. So I thought Detroit was a great spot for him because, again, with just all that young talent and still more to come, he's probably looking at it going, this can be my next Houston, my next dynasty that I help build. It might take a little bit. I'm not sure they're World Series ready just yet, but can they get to the ALCS this year? Absolutely. With this American League, yeah, 100%. So I think Hinch is doing a lot of good stuff over there.
well, I think I mean beneficiaries of the fact that they were terrible and then his situation and coming back to baseball, right? Like he didn't have many options. What's interesting to think about is if the timeline was just a little bit different. When Cora came back, if we didn't welcome him back with open arms and they had gotten rid of their manager a year earlier or 2 years earlier, do you think they would have had interest in Cora instead of Hinge? And how different things would be for us?
They might have, yeah. You're on mute, Terry.
Terry, you're on mute.
When I try to type something, that's why I do it. That's going to be a hard habit for me to break. I'm not lying, but you know, the road through October is probably going to lead to Dodger Stadium, you know, or an insanely hot National League team. Because if the Dodgers lose, there's got to be another team that's just absolutely torrid. That's going to be a major problem for us anyway. But it's going to be interesting whether it's this year or at some point in the next 3 or 4, which manager gets a World Series first, Hinch or Cora? And you know, the knee-jerk reaction might be Hinch because they're so hot and they had that deep run last year, but they haven't had an ownership group in Detroit that has committed to spending money. I mean, Tarek Skubal is going to walk after, I think, next season, unless they do something. And just based on recent history, I think he will walk. The Illich family owns the Tigers, and they own the Little Caesars, you know, corporation. And so we haven't seen the kids be willing to spend like their dad did, who passed away in recent years. I think he was close to 90 years old, or maybe even beyond that. He was up there. So that's it. I mean, if Detroit commits to spending money, maybe they do win a ring before the Red Sox do. I obviously hope we do, and I think we've got the pieces for it. But who knows?
Well, you said Cora or Hinge, and I was going to say it might be Cora, just not with the Red Sox.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if things stay the way that they are now, where we're doing this up-down, ring around the rosy, and can't figure it out, like at some point there's going to be a scapegoat. I don't know who it's going to be, and I'm not saying it would be, but like hypothetically, like nothing would shock me at this point, and like there might be a chance that Cora is out, and if he is out, goes somewhere else, I could see him winning a ring somewhere else.
I think Cora is the next Breslow. I think that's what's going to happen.
I don't disagree. I think that's the more likely scenario, but I could also see something where internally the organization does something to make him mad where he doesn't want to be here. Not so much they're frustrated with him.
It could be. The Cora Breslow thing will be a topic as it plays out, because it seems like there's friction at the least there. Yeah. And maybe it's not this big toxic thing, but clearly right now they're not seeing eye to eye on stuff based on the Devers controversy. But yeah, and I'm not sure if I want Cora to be that guy, but I just don't see the way John Henry blows through executives. You know, they only last 3 or 4 years and he fires them. So you can't just let's say it is really toxic right now, and Breslow has alienated himself from Cora, Kennedy, some of the longer tenured guys, Ramiro, O'Halloran, and eventually Henry. You can't just go try to get another one here a year or 2 into it when already there was this brutal narrative, you know? So that's why I think Cora's the only play at that point, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all if Cora gets bumped upstairs, and you know, that's sort of his future trajectory. Because, yeah, at this point, the relationship between him and Breslow doesn't seem like it's built to last.
And I'll tell you the one positive I think that would happen is Cora would pick his manager, and I think that manager would be given a lot of wiggle room in terms of decision making, because I think Cora knows. He's like, well, I didn't want the front office coming at me. So I'm not going to do that to him. If it's someone he truly has a lot of confidence in.
Well, I think it would also bring stability to the organization because at this point, I think we're all under the same conclusion that if things don't work out with Breslow, we're not going to get a legit GM, right? Like that's not going to happen. It's more than likely going to be Cora, and whether we like it or not, they'll give him the opportunity because they love him. And to your point, he will give a manager a chance to have a little bit of say there. And right, wrong, or indifferent, for better or worse, it'll be the most stable we've been in that spot for a long time. Because every year, or every time we've made this move, which is every 2 to 3 years, we're like, well, when this guy makes the big mistake, he's out.
Yeah.
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 Well, time will tell, and certainly days like this, it's really all you can do is kind of speculate because what else is there to talk about with a 14-2 drubbing other than the potential future and other shakeups? So, but hopefully they can wipe the memory of this one away, come back strong tomorrow. So tomorrow's matchup, we got Bayo going on the mound for the Red Sox. He's going up against Tyler Holton for the Tigers, not the strongest member of their rotation. So, Terry, how do you feel about that matchup tomorrow?
I'm going to pick the Red Sox. We seem to bounce back from a brutal football score type loss. We've done it once or twice anyway this year. So I think that could be the case. This shouldn't be a bad ballpark for Bayo. Hopefully he's able to finish some of these guys off, and you can if you get a decent game from Bregman and or Devers. One guy that needs to get out of it here that's slumping pretty bad is Christian Campbell. So perhaps tomorrow with a kind of a fringe starting pitcher, you can do that. And I'll also say I haven't looked back to see how many times it's happened, but it seems like if we win the first game of the series, we drop the next two. If we lose the first game of the series, we win the next two. So maybe we got Scooble in game 3, but we did just destroy Cole Reagan, so we'll see.
Chris, how do you feel about the matchup tomorrow?
I agree with a lot of what Terry said. I think it's an important game, especially for Bayo, from really understanding like what he's going to bring to the table as we start getting closer to the break and potentially all the second half here, because this is going to be the best team he's probably played or faced through the season thus far. So I mean, if we can win this game, I'll feel better about the situation. If we can get 2 of the next 3, I mean, I said we needed to get 4 out of 6 on the road. I'd feel good, but it also wouldn't shock me if he got lit up tomorrow. Like that's been the Sox. I don't know what to expect on a night-to-night basis.
Yeah, I think I'm still leaning towards the Sox. I'm a little worried because they're going to be facing back-to-back lefties now. Holton tomorrow is a lefty, and then Scooble on Wednesday. So Cora's going to do some stupid crap with the lineup that we're not going to like. For some reason, he'll probably sit Christian Campbell tomorrow and put David Hamilton in there because whatever. That's what Cora tends to do. Willie Abreu probably gets sat. So, don't love that. But I still give the Red Sox the edge. I think Holton is really kind of a fringe starter for them. Bayo, this is an important game for him. He needs to be a stopper. Not like in an ace kind of way, but more like an emotional stopper. Like he needs to go out there and kind of have one of those like, you know, pump your fist after striking out the side kind of performances. Just to light a fire under some of these guys, like Terry, you mentioned Campbell's in a slump. Like even a guy like Jaron Duran is kind of not exactly performing up to snuff yet. It's really been just Devers Bregman here for the last couple of weeks. Like I want to see Bayo kind of light a fire under the team and just get guys going, go out there and get a win tomorrow, and then tackle Scooble on Wednesday and go into that game with at least some momentum under your wings. So big outing for Bayo. I think he'll deliver. I think the Red Sox will snag a win tomorrow. So at least we certainly hope so. So with that, we will wrap up this episode. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow night to talk about that Red Sox game. Hopefully it's much more positive than this one was. This was a tough one, but Always got a chance